Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk, where today's topic is creating a new e-commerce website. My name is Evan, and I'll be your moderator today. We're broadcasting this web conference live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. Today's web conference is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation, and by participating in this session using Microsoft Teams, your name, email address, phone number, and/or title may be viewable by other session participants. If you do not consent to being a part of a recorded session, please disconnect at this time. The recording will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions throughout the event. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Now let's get started. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Sam Jarwan, Principal Program Manager. Sam, over to you.
Thank you, Evan. So as Evan mentioned, my name is Sam Jarwan, and my role is Principal Program Manager on the Dynamics 365 Commerce team. My particular specialty is e-commerce extensibility. But today I'll be talking about creating a new e-commerce website. So let's get started. The agenda of today will be, I'll start out with an overview. Then we're going to really jump in and create and manage a new online store channel. I'll show a little bit of basic merchandising, adding products to the channel, releasing, assorting them, and creating a channel nav hierarchy for our new channel. Then we'll create a new e-commerce store site, and finally we'll configure that site. I'll be using a few different tools, which you'll see on the next slide. Now, if you're watching live today, I'm going to be going at a pretty quick pace. This is more meant to be watched versus trying along with me, but of course, when you get the recording afterwards, you can control that at your own speed. I'm also not going to be deep diving into the tools too deeply. We're going to have other talks that go deep into really configuring and building out a site, but this is really to show the full end-to-end of creating an e-commerce site, all the way from our headquarters app all the way through Site Builder. At the end of the talk, I will be showing links to some other talks that have taken place already. And as I mentioned, we'll have some other tech talks coming up in this series that will be posted on the Tech Talk website. All right, so the goal that I'll be trying to achieve today is starting out with our Fabricam demo site. So if you've seen any demos for Dynamics 365 Commerce, you've probably seen the fashion store Fabricam. You can deploy an environment with demo data, which I'll be using, which has a fashion store. I'll be converting that, however, to a sporting goods store and showing you the process along the way. But I will be leveraging the provided starter site. And when I say starter site, what I mean by that are all the pages that we'll see in a tool called Site Builder, like the home page, the category page. I'll be leveraging a lot of that starter site and just rebranding it for AdventureWorks. And you'll see how that's done. And that's generally how you would do it in the real world when building a real site. So the things that you're going to learn here, you'll get an overview of the 3 main tools. Again, I'm not going to be deep diving, especially not into LCS, but I will be going a little bit deeper into HQ and Site Builder, but not super deep. So we'll start out with LCS and then HQ, which another term is headquarters, where we'll do our channel management and merchandising. I'll then switch over to Site Builder tool. That's where you'll manage your e-commerce site. And then finally, we'll take a look at the e-commerce site that is our final output. All right, so I'll start with the first tool, LCS, which stands for Lifecycle Services. So this is where you create and manage your environments. They could be prod environments, sandbox, dev. And when you deploy those various environments, one option you have is deploying demo data with it. So the environment I'll be using has the demo data deployed. Now this is going to help me when I'm creating my channel, and I'll call these various parts out because I'm going to be leveraging things that are sort of pre-built in the demo data. As an example, in a few minutes when I get to it, I'm going to be creating a new online channel, and I'm going to pick a warehouse for it. the intent is not to show you how to create warehouses in our product, but I'll have one that's already been created. So there's a few things, and I'll try to call them out as I go along, that if you were starting with no data, just a clean system, that you'd have to pre-configure as well. And we have a lot of documentation, and I have links to the documentation at the end as well. Inside of LCS, once you've deployed your environments, this is where you get your links to the various tools. So you can see here I have a little screenshot showing one of my environments, and I've highlighted the Commerce Headquarters tool. And I'm going to go there in a couple of minutes, so you'll see that in action. But this is where you get to your various tools, your HQ, your site builder, your point of sale, and as your website as well. So in LCS, as I mentioned, this is where you deploy your environment. I won't be showing the deployment steps. I already have one deployed, but if you were deploying one on your own, the bit of information that you do need is a friendly name you want to provide, a domain name, a primary geography where you're based out of, and the Azure AD security group that you want to use so that users can log into both Site Builder as well as the Headquarters tool. And finally, you'll get a choice to enable the ratings and review service. The environments that we create, all of the e-commerce environments, get provisioned with a module library, which is a set of modules. In a demo in a little bit, when I show you the website, you'll see that all of our web pages on an e-commerce site are made up of what we call modules. And we provide a set of those. Now, they're fully extensible. We have documentation on that. I'll have a tech talk coming up on that as well. And there's a past tech talk available as well on that. But I won't be going into details on how to build those modules and themes today. All right, Headquarters. That's the second tool I'm going to be using. And I'll be spending a good chunk of time here in creating our online channel, online store, I should say. And after I create the online store, there's a few things I need to do. I need to configure it. I need to configure the payment provider so that we can accept credit cards. I need to configure the shipping options, the fulfillment groups. In a moment, I'll show you a little demo on what I mean by fulfillment groups. Then we need to add a product. We want a product to have variants. I've already got a pre-configured product I set up earlier that I'll be using to save a little bit of time. And when you create products, you also have to release them and assort them. And I'll give a little walkthrough when I get there. Finally, we need to create a navigation hierarchy. That's the hierarchy you see on an e-commerce website with all your categories that a end customer can shop through. And you can also configure your channel refiners. So when you're on a search page and you want to refine your products further, I'll show how that's done. And then finally, we have a architecture that scales out. I'm not going to go into details on the architecture. At the end, I have a link to a great talk that was just done, another tech talk on the architecture of commerce, and you can see how the scale units play in. But you'll hear me mention scale units a few times. At the end, we need to run a job that essentially gets data from our main database or HQ into the different scale units. And that's what that process will be. Once we're done that, we're then going to shift over to the Site Builder tool, where I'll create a new site. I'll show that site in action, and then we'll do a few things in there. We'll update the product images for the product I've added, and then we'll do a little bit of site branding, and if I have enough time, we'll do an end-to-end transaction demo. All right, so that's pretty much it for the deck. I'm going to switch over now to LCS to give you a little demonstration of that. So I've logged into LCS here, and I have two environments right here that I've created. One is called Commerce in a Day, and I'm just going to go and select that one there. Now, once I select that one, I'm on a screen here where I see my HQ version information. This is where I can apply updates as updates come out. But I'm going to select this Manage feature here, and this lets me see my scale units that we've deployed as well as my e-commerce service. So here's the scale unit. I only have one scale unit here. And again, this is where you can apply extensions or updates to your scale units. And this is where you'll see the links to the various tools. I'm going to open these tools up in another tab for now. So here's Headquarters. I'm not going to load point of sale. I'm not going to have time to show point of sale today. But I'm also going to select e-commerce here. And I'll just show you. So I have HQ loaded here. And I've selected the e-commerce tab here. And from the e-commerce, this is where I will get the site builder link. Give that a second here. That's taking a little longer than it should. I'll hit refresh on that and see what's going on. Okay, that's a little strange, but we'll come back to that because I'm going to be starting with the HQ tool. And I do have links to my environment, so I'm going to quickly just grab a link to my home page. And I'll open up Site Builder as well. This is the same links I should have got there. I'm using it in some internal environments, so there might be other folks stomping on me here. Okay, so a quick overview of the web page right now. So before I go there, I want to show you when you first launch Site Builder, you'll get a screen like this, which shows all of your sites. Now, I've added 2, but normally you'd only see 2 of them, Fabricam and Default. So I'm going to go ahead. I just want to show you, I've already set up Fabricam, and it's just set up using our demo data. I just quickly want to walk you through it as I then transition into HQ and start adding things. I just want to show you some of the things I'm adding and how they relate. So here's a home page, and again, this is just made up of modules. When I get to Site Builder later, I'll give you a little bit more of an overview. And I'm going to pick a category. I'll just grab the shoes category here. Here's a category. And then finally, I'm going to pick a product. And this will take me to the product details page, or PDP I use for short. And I just want to show you one thing, which is the needed for fulfillment groups. So I'm going to pick a variant of my shoe here, and I'm going to click on Find in Stores. Now this is doing a local search, but I want to specifically look for a store called San Francisco. Okay, so notice that there's a list of stores that are coming up here. This is what I mean by fulfillment groups. So in a few minutes, when I go back to HQ, when I talk about fulfillment groups, it's allowing these other stores to show up in my website. All right, so I'll go back here now to HQ, and we're going to spend a little bit of time here. So I'll give you a quick overview of the HQ tool. So this landing page I got on gives me some quick links to some of the more common tasks I'll need. We're going to be starting off in the online stores. This is where I'll create a new online channel. This one here, online all stores, this is where you can create and view all of your existing brick and mortar channels. And this is where you can see all of your call center channels. Below that, you can manage your employees. So that's used a lot with the point of sale, for example. And below that are your customers. You can manage all your customers as well as your orders that come in. Below that, you can manage your inventory. And then on the left side is where you do a lot of your merchandising. So you see products and categories here. You see catalogs and assortments, pricing and discounts. So you see a lot of different options here. Now, this is only a subset of the available options within headquarters. So I'm just going to open up this hamburger menu and show you how you get to all of them. If you see under the modules node here, you'll see a retail and commerce tab. Now, if you're using the full-blown F&O set of products, the other products, you'll see additional modules here, but I only have the commerce SKU deployed. That's why I see this. I'll just collapse all for a second. This is where you can really get to see all the different settings in here. So you see product recommendations, employees, customers, continuity, inventory management, a whole bunch of extra stuff here, task management that I won't be covering today. But for the channel management, again, you can see the online stores is here. And you can put a little star here. I like to put a star on the items I use frequently. Then I can access them right from favorites here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on online stores. Another way you're going to see me accessing various pages in headquarters is by just typing them in the search here. So as I start typing, you'll see that it automatically detects, it looks for matches. So you can see online stores here. So you'll see me navigate a lot of times. It's just quicker, and I'll try to call out what I'm doing and the page I'm going to. All right, so this now is a list of all of our online stores. By default, if you're using demo data, you'll see the first 4. I've played around and added these bottom 3, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new one. So I've already played around and added an AdventureWorks, but I'll just add a second one. So I will give it a name, and I'll just call this AdventureWorks 2. And now there's a few things we need to set up here. One of them is we need to select a legal entity. Now, if I open this, I can see the list of all the legal entities that were configured as part of the demo data. So if you have a fresh deployment here, you're going to need to set up your legal entities. Generally, you'll have a legal entity per country, and the legal entity will have items like the tax rules for that country. And the next thing I need to select is a warehouse. And I mentioned this earlier, but I'm just using a pre-created warehouse in here. So I'm going to pick one called DC Central. And then I'm just going to pick a time zone. I'll pick Pacific because that's where I am right now. And moving along, you see a red around the next thing that's required is a default customer. So within e-commerce, we support a guest checkout. Any guest checkouts will be logged against the default customer. So we have in our demo data, I'll just start typing 100 here, and we have 3 demo data customers that are created for default customers. So I'm going to pick the default online customer. Again, that's another thing. If you're creating your own, if you're starting with fresh data, you'd create that yourself. And then for a customer address book, so this is where all of your customers will get added when they do transactions on your store. USRT Central, that's one I'm just going to pick again, like I mentioned. That's one that's part of our demo data. And the last thing I need to select here is an email notification profile. So this contains the templates for emails that are sent out during different parts of the transaction. So after you do a purchase on the website, the customer will get an email and there's a profile set. I won't be going into details, but we have lots of documentation on that as well. So I'm going to hit the save button now, and that's the core that I need to set up for my channel. I now have a new online channel, but let's configure it next. So I'm going to start by, there's two sections below it. I'm going to start with payment accounts. In this dropdown, you'll see some of our built-in providers here. We have an Adyen payment connector and a PayPal connector. I'm going to start out with the Adyen one and just click Add. Now, if you're doing this, you'll need to set up an account with Adyen. I'm going to be using a test Microsoft one that unfortunately I can't share with you guys, but it's pretty simple to contact Adyen to get your own. There's a few things I need to fill out here: test environment, the merchant account ID, and the terminal architecture is going to get set to cloud. And then the last important thing is a cloud API that's specific to our account. Now this is what I can't share with you, and fortunately you won't see it as I paste it in. And then there's one setting I want to change: allow saving information in e-commerce. I'll set that to true. And that's all there is to setting up Adyen. And finally, the last section in here is languages. So if you want to have support multiple languages or countries inside of your e-commerce site, you can add them here. I'm just going to add another language. So I'll pick FRCA for French Canada. And you can see you only have one as the default, and English is my default. Later on, when I configure the site in Site Builder, you'll see all the languages that will show up over there as well as after you've configured them here. So I'll go ahead and hit save here. And now that I have that, I'm going to click on this setup button up here. And there's 4 items here that I want to set up. Now, the first one, I showed you what fulfillment groups were over on the e-commerce site. That was over here. So now I'll show you how you set that up here. So I'm going to select fulfillment group assignment. Now, again, in demo data, we have one already created called all stores. I'll select it. And in fact, I'll just click on it and you'll see what it was configured with. You'll see all these demo data stores. The one in particular to make note of is that San Francisco one. I want to make sure that shows up. And if you want to create your own, very easy. You just select new and then you can add your own stores to it. All right, that's fulfillment groups, pretty easy to add. Next is payment methods. So we added a payment provider, but we haven't said which payments we want our website to accept. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to configure a couple of different payment methods. So I do that by clicking the new button, and the first one I'm going to do is loyalty. So here's a loyalty card here, and there's just some operations that we've that are again part of demo data. Now, when a sale happens, they get posted for accounting, and there's a few account numbers. I'm just again going to reuse some that are part of this. And if you were deploying a real system, you'd be using real accounts that you've configured. So I'm just going to set that up and I'm going to hit save. And the last thing I need to do when I add one of these is select the actual cards that I support. And I'll select new, and then under here are the different cards. So I'm going to pick a loyalty card for that one, and I'll just exit. All right, so I'm going to do two more, one for credit cards. So I'm going to select cards right here. In terms of payment, I'm going to say credit card, and pay card will be my operation. And similar to what I did with loyalty, I'm going to do the same, setting a few accounts for the credit card posting. There we go. And I'm going to hit save, and then now I can pick the various credit cards that I'm going to support. So in this list, I've got American Express, I've got Discover Card. Let's see, I'll add a couple of more, Eurocard. Let's see, MasterCard or Maestro, Master, and I think I got Visa, and Visa Electronic is used for debit card. There we go. Save that and go back. And then the last thing I'm going to do is we want to support gift cards as well. So I'm going to pick gift card and pay gift card. And then I'll set up a few accounts for that as well. Grab that information. All right, now that I have that, I'll hit save, and again, I'll go in there, add a card. That's just going to be a standard gift card here. And close that. All right, there we go. Now we have all of the payments, so I can close that. All right, so we've done fulfillment groups, we've done payment methods. Now on to channel database. If I scroll up here, again, I'm not deep diving into architecture, but I did mention scale units, and we need to make sure our store is part of that. And to do that, we add it to the live channel, the database. So to do that, what I need to do is go to another location, which is channel database. And I'm going to select the scale unit here. There's only one that I have in this environment, and you can see a bunch of stores have already been added here. I'm going to go ahead and select add. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, my latest one that I'm working on, AdventureWorks 2, will show up there. And that's really all I need to do. Now, once I'm done in HQ, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to run this full data sync just to make sure all the data that I've been playing with gets into the scale unit. Normally, you'll have jobs that are running to automatically do that, but I want to force that by running the jobs. All right, so I'm going to close that now, and I'm going to go back to online stores. And if I select that new AdventureWorks that I just created, I should now see the live channel database selected here. So great. So now we have 3 of these 4 set up. Next is modes of delivery. Now, to set up my delivery modes, I need to do one thing first. I need to add my new channel to something I'll call the org hierarchy. So let me go there and I'll explain what that looks like and the reasons. So a lot of, let me go there first, organizational hierarchies. And you can configure all kinds of different hierarchies as you need. And when I select this, I'm going to be using the retail stores by business unit right here, and I'm going to select view. Now this is a tree view of my organization. So this has the parent company at the top, Contoso Retail, and then it has 3 divisions, electronics, sporting, fashion, then all my stores underneath those. Now, you'll see in future steps after this where I'm going to leverage this org hierarchy. But let me go ahead. I'm going to add our new store to the sporting goods section. So what I need to do is hit edit to edit the hierarchy here. And again, if you're using fresh data, you'll need to create your hierarchy. And I'm just going to say insert retail channel. And it knows that it shows me the only channel that hasn't been added yet, which is our new one. And I'll go and do that. And down here, this is all the channels. I should see that at the very bottom. There we go. It should be this one here, AdventureWorks 2. OK, now that I've done that, I need to save it and publish it. I'm just going to pick a slightly older date and publish Okay, now I've made that publish. Okay, now you'll see in the next step why I came here in the first place. So now, if you recall, I was going to set up the modes of delivery. So that's what will show up when you're checking out of e-commerce. So to do that, there's another area called modes of delivery. And I'm going to select a few different modes to configure. So first one I'm going to pick is electronic. So notice here I have a few stores in here. All I have to do is, and notice now when I said add, it's showing me the organizational hierarchy. So what I can do if I wanted, I could pick sporting and then all the stores under sporting would show up. But in this case, I'm just going to pick the specific store, AdventureWorks 2. Now I also want standard overnight shipping to show up. That's this one. And notice though, sporting is already selected. So someone had already gone in here and selected this sporting node. So great, I don't have to add my store here. I also want customer pickup, and I can see sporting's not here, so I'm going to go ahead and add AdventureWorks here. And then finally, I want standard shipping, and I can see sporting is done there already. So I'm really done with my modes of delivery. What I have to do now is run something to just process them, process delivery modes, and that'll just take a couple of seconds. So now that's going to run in the background. When it's finished, the modes of delivery will now show up on my online store channel. So let me go back to online stores. And whoops, I went to the wrong spot. Online stores is what I want. And if I select AdventureWorks 2 down here, now if I select modes of delivery, there we go. I see those 4 show up. So a quick review, what we did so far was we created a new online channel. We added a fulfillment group. We added a payment method. We added it to the channel database. We set up the modes of delivery. And of course, we set up the Adyen payment account as well as added a second language. And that's really all there is to setting up a channel. Except there's one more thing that I need to do. Remember this, let me go back to the e-commerce site. This up here, menswear accessories, this is the channel navigation hierarchy. So we need to create one for our new store. So let me show you where you do that. So I'm going to go over to channel. I'm going to type in channel navigation categories. There we go. And there's going to be a few already in here that are used for the demo data. Now, this can be for one or more stores, but I want to show you how to create one. So I'm going to select new here, give it a name. Works 2. I can leave description empty for now. All right, so all nodes, you don't see it here, but there's actually a root node that doesn't show up in the UI. So I'm going to go ahead and just create that one. I'm going to call it root. And I need to give it a name here, but I also need it to give it a friendly name. This is the name that will show up in the UI. So I'll have root, and then underneath my root, I'm going to go ahead and create a few categories for my fictitious sporting goods store. So bear with me while I add a few of these. I'm going to start out with an action sports category, and then I'm going to add a apparel category. Whoops. And I need to go back to root, and I'm going to add a camping and hiking category. And one more, I'm going to add an exercise category. So that's my top level set of categories. I'm just going to add one more level of items to each of these. So under action sports, I'm going to hit create new again, and I'm going to add one called skiing. I just want this to look semi-real when we are navigating this site a little later. New category, I'll add one more called snowboarding. And you can see how simple it is to build this out. Under apparel, I'm going to add one called accessories, and then I'll do one more called clothing. Oh, it looks like I have an extra one here I didn't mean to add, so I'm going to just delete that one. Yes. And then under camping, and this is the one we're going to be using. I'm going to be adding a backpack here. The rest, I'll probably, just for lack of time, I'll leave them empty, and I'll do one more here. intense exercise. This will be our last one. Cardio equipment. Okay, and a quick check. I want to make sure I didn't miss any friendly names because that's what will show up on our website. Yeah, it looks like I got them all. Great. All right, so now that I'm done that, I'm going to just hit save. Now, I will show you in a moment how we will configure this channel category hierarchy to show up for the channel we created. But while I'm in here, this is where I can also add products. So I'm only going to populate one of these for now, backpacking packs. So I'm going to go ahead and add some backpacks. Now I've already created a couple of backpacks and I just numbered them. I just followed a sequence, so I know that they start with 7500. So I'm picking those 3 backpacks that I configured, and I'm going to show you one of those in just a moment to show you what creating a one of these looks like. And then there's one more thing I want to do here. I've created products, but I also want attributes to show up for those. So the attributes, if you recall, we're in the search page right here. The attributes can show up on the side to refine them, but the attributes will also show up down here for a particular product. So I want to configure some attributes for these backpacks. I'm going to click add, and I already created some called, I created 2 in fact, called backpack usage. This would be the sporting event, so it might be mountaineering or day hikes. So that's what that looks like. And another one is the frame type. So internal frame, external frame. So you can add all kinds of different attributes and attribute groups to products, but I pre-created those. And so now I'm adding them here. And that's really all I need to do to add products to my navigation hierarchy. There's one more step I'm going to need later, which is to assort them for them to actually show up. Okay, so now that I've added those products, let me take you and show you what a product looks like before we hook up our channel to this product hierarchy. So again, if I go over into modules under products and categories, there are a couple of different places you can go. First of all, when you're creating a product, the first thing you do is you generally go to products by category. And this is like a global list of products available for all of your entities. So you can see several hierarchy on the left with several categories, and you can see under backpacking packs is where I added these 3 products. Now it's super easy to add a new product. I can just say new here, and this is where you can define the product. I won't be walking through that right now, but I'll just select one of these products just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here's the product. You can see the description. You can see that this product supports different size groups. So there's going to be 3 sizes for this backpack, and there's not going to be any colors or styles. And I've already gone in here and you can select the variants you support. So if you were to have several colors and sizes, you may not support every single combination of them, but you can go under product variants and do that. Now, after you've created a new product, to sell it in one of your legal entities, you have to release it. I've already released it, and it's a little wizard. I'll just show you real quick, but you just walk through this wizard and you pick the variants that you want to support. And then finally, you just pick the legal entity you want to release it to. So in this case, I would release it to the US. This way you can have products spanning multiple entities. I'm going to hit cancel there. Once you've released it, the next place you go is the released products by category. Now, if you notice up here, I'm in USRT. I could switch my entity here and it would show me the products released for that entity. But under action sports here, I'll see that my backpacks are released. Now this is where I can go and give additional information for my products. So here's where I list my purchase price, for example, the price I'm selling it. This is the price we'll see on the website. And there's a few other things like how it gets posted for taxing purposes, but this is additional configuration you can do on a product, and you can configure it differently for every entity you release it to, so you can have different pricing and quantities and whatnot based on the entity you've released it to. Okay, so now that I've given you a little overview of products and a little bit of that merchandising, let's go and configure our channel to that nav hierarchy we created. So to do that, I'm going to go to channel categories and product attributes. Now in here, you'll see that hierarchy that we've added our store to earlier. So again, you can see the reason I added it. And I'm going to go ahead and select the store here. And you can see there's no category hierarchy at the moment. So I'm going to select edit and I'm going to hit the drop down, and there's that new category hierarchy I created. Now, we want to configure the attributes that will show up over in the e-commerce site, all of these attributes. Now there's a pre-configured group we created. I'm going to remove this one that ends up there by default with our demo data and add another one that we pre-created in our demo data, which is just called default dimension group. And if you go and look there, you would find that it just contains the default dimensions that show up here. So you'll see category, price, rating, color, size, and style added to that. Basically what that's saying is for all of, I want those to show up on every, for this whole product. But now for all of the other attributes, I can now turn them on and off specifically. And to do that, I can select the set attribute metadata. So I don't know if you remember, but a few minutes ago, when I created this category navigation hierarchy, under backpacks, I selected the attributes that I was going to use. And whoops, I just realized I created them in the wrong spot. So let me just fix that up. In fact, I'm going to show you because I have it working on this one. I'm just going to select set attribute metadata. What you'll see is underneath the channel product attributes, I have the two attributes. Now, these are turned off by default. So what you need to do is turn them on, show the attribute on the channel. So you don't need to show all of them if you have many of them. And then also, can it be refined? So that will allow it to be refinable. And I should be able to fix that up real easily if I head back to channel navigation categories, and I'll pick AdventureWorks 2. And see, this is where I should have added it, and I'll hit edit, add my product attribute groups. There we go. Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm going to go back to the other spot and I'll show you how that'll show up properly. AdventureWorks 2, and again, I've already selected that, and I'll set attribute metadata, and whoops. Okay, looks like I'm still missing something, but I'll go and fix that up a little bit later. So let me close that now. And in fact, since that's missing, what I'm going to do, and I have the other one set up, and I want to show this working end to end, I'm going to just quickly swap this one over to AdventureWorks, which I've already created, and I'll just validate that one there, which should look the same. There we go, and I'm going to turn those two on, as I showed you before. Okay, so now that we're done that, I'm going to just hit this button here, Publish Channel Updates. You need to run that, and then all my updates will take effect. Okay, so now that we're done that, what I'm now going to do is create an assortment. So even though I've added products to that navigation hierarchy, I haven't actually assorted them. So this is the final step you need to do to release those products. So I'm going to go to assortments, and I'm going to create a new assortment here. And I'm just going to call this AdventureWorks 2. And what I do is just add the channels that I want to assort products to. So in this case, I'm going to add AdventureWorks 2. But I'm also going to scroll down here, and I'm going to add the San Francisco store because I want to make sure those products are available in the San Francisco store so that I can demo a buy online and pick that same product up in the store. So now I've picked two channels. I have to tell it which products I want to add. So I know the product numbers, 75001 was one of the backpacks, and I'm going to add two more, but you can add a whole category of products. So you don't really have to configure each product individually here. normally wouldn't. But this is a good spot. If you had a category of products, maybe you wanted to exclude a product suddenly, maybe there's a recall on a product and you don't want to sell it anymore. You can just change this to exclude over here. And that's all I need to do. I hit save, and I do need to hit publish over here. Okay, and let's see, and I think we're ready now to sync our data. So to do that, I'm going to go to channel database. And this is the final step we're going to do. And this full, oops, I need to select the skill unit. And I'm going to select this job that's just titled 9999. And that means run all the jobs. And this is going to take about 10 or 15 minutes before it's complete. But really, we're done in this tool now. We're done in HQ. So now I'm going to transition to the site builder. And I'm going to go back over here and see if my link is working now, although I have Site Builder loaded, but I'm going to check that out. Okay, looks like things are much better now. So this is the site builder, and this is my e-commerce site. So again, I'm going to open the e-commerce site, which I had opened here, but there's my home page, and here is the site builder. Okay, I'll close this one here. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning, and this is a whole new tool. This is a tool where you manage your e-commerce site specifically. This is all of, if you see the architecture tech talk, you'll see how all of the site is stored in an internal CMS system. So this is the landing page you first get to when you come to the site builder tool. And normally you only see two sites. The very first time you run this, if you deployed a brand new environment from LCS, you'd actually get a 404 page here. And the reason is these two pages, these two sites that you get aren't initialized yet. When you click on them the very first time, I've already done it, but you'll end up seeing a page similar to this with less options in it because the site is already created. But it'll ask you which channel in the back end do you want to map to. So remember, we're just creating AdventureWorks 2. It'll take about 5 or 10 minutes before it shows up in here. So I'm going to use a different one here. So again, if you're creating default or Fabricam, that's all you have to do when you hit new site here. Sorry, when you hit one of those two. And generally, you'd be using the default site for your website. But there's scenarios where you're going to be creating more than one website out of Site Builder here. You can create many sites. So that's what I want to show you now. To do that, you just hit the new site button and we give it a name. So I'm going to call this one AdventureWorks 2. And this is where you need an Azure security group. This group is what's going to be used for managing your HQ. And I'll grab one I've got created already. This is called Commerce New Day. I have an Azure AD group with that name. Now this is where I'm going to pick my channel. So I'm going to pick this one I've already pre-created, AdventureWorks, and it's pretty much a duplicate of what the AdventureWorks 2 that I just went through with you guys. And then remember how we added 2 languages? I'm going to leave that as English. And then the domain name is something you configured in LCS originally. So you can pick one of the domain names, but since I'm reusing a single domain name, what I then want is a different path because my default Fabricam is using the default path. So here I'll say AdventureWorks 2, for example. Okay, and then generally you pick a theme. Fabricam is a theme. You can use our extensibility to create your own theme as well. Or you can start with, we have a starter theme or a Fabricam theme. These are additional ones I've created as well. But I'm going to pick the Fabricam as sort of our starter one here. Now I'm going to click OK, and this is going to create our new site. Now there's one problem with our new site, and I'll show you that. Okay, so first of all, this is our site landing page, and there's some quick links to do a few things. But I'm going to click on Pages. This is where you manage your pages. Notice it's empty. Well, every page is also based off of a template. Notice there's nothing here. Templates can also have various layouts. It's empty. And fragments. Fragments is a set of modules put together that you can add to your web pages. Empty. So almost everything is empty. Products isn't empty though. This shows all my products. So this is good. This shows those 3 products I was working with. I previously uploaded one of the product images. That's why you're seeing it here. And I'm going to be showing you how to upload these. But what I want to show you that this is great if you want to start from scratch, but there's a lot of pages to build. We are looking at providing support to do this yourself, to be able to import or copy one of your other sites into a new site. But right now, unfortunately, you have to open up a support ticket and we can get one created for you. So once you've done that, once you opened a ticket and created one, or if you're using the default, let me go back. This is how you get back to the list of sites up here. I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna use this AdventureWorks one I've pre-created, and I've already had that site copy done. So this is going to be a 100% copy of the Fabricam site. So if you're deploying with demo data, this is again what you'll see. Actually, even if you don't deploy with demo data, you'll still get these site pages. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick tour of Site Builder now. This is, as I mentioned, where you'll see your pages. This is how you edit each of your pages. So you can create a new page, or you can edit an existing page. Let me go ahead and click on Homepage here. And again, I'm not going to go into heavy detail in Site Builder here. We have other talks that really outline all the details here, but I do want to show a few things. So I'm going to close the hierarchy over the menu over here. And what you see in the middle is a rendering of what the page is going to look like. And then you'll see that it's made up of various modules. Over on the left side, you'll see a tree structure of all my modules. So over and it's actually, if I reduce, actually I won't reduce it now, but if you see there's different slots, they're just regions on the page. There's a header slot, there's a main slot, and at the bottom, there's a footer slot. So at the top of the header slot is a carousel. Now, generally, these are either little slots or regions, or they are modules. So you notice this one here, carousel container. It's what we call a container module, and then all the properties for it are over on the right. Within that container, we have a carousel module. That's this thing that flips through different features. And inside of that carousel, here's where you control, the transition time, the different effects. So all the properties on the module. Here inside of the carousel, you can have one or more modules inside of it, and this one is a content block. This is what gives us this hero layout. And each of these, there's 3 of them here. Each of these can be configured to have a different layout. We have a hero layout, it might be a feature, and this is where you plug in your text, or you can just type directly within the preview area here. You have rich text. You've got various different settings, a call to action button here for the link, and a whole bunch of different things that can be done here. Again, I won't be covering them in too much detail, but this is the gist of it. Now, as I mentioned, all of these pages are stored in CMS. So there's a flow that you generally do when you're editing one of these pages. And basically what you do is you click the edit button here, and you make your changes. You can see everything's now editable. And when you're done, you can either you can save and preview. You can even send your saved changes to other folks within your organization to review. And once you're finished editing, it's still not live, but you can. It's then in an edited in a preview state. You can then publish it, and I'll show that in a few minutes as well. Okay, but I'm just going to quickly hit the preview button, and it'll just show you that. And when you preview, you might notice here, it's actually doing authentication. It makes sure I have AD access to Site Builder, because you might be sending around a preview. See, it says preview here. And so I'm actually going to get rid of that. And you could notice here, the site page will still load and it's AdventureWorks. So if you recall, when I created the site, there was a path. So I gave this one AdventureWorks path. So that's my home page. But notice it's not using the new channel yet. Well, that's because everything is still hooked up to Fabricam. So what I'm going to show you next, before I dive a little deeper into changing some content, I'm going to show you a little bit of configuration over here. So a quick review here before I do that is I've talked about we landed on this home. I talked about this page right here where you see a list of pages, and we've already seen the products area where you can get to your products. Now, this is showing all the Fabricam products at the moment. Now, to change my channel, I'm going to go down here into site settings, and there's a channel node here, and you can see here, this is my Fabricam. It's currently using this channel. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to say use. Oh, and I can even see AdventureWorks 2 is popping up. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the first one, AdventureWorks. And now what I have to do is hit save and publish. And that's really all. And there's a bit of caching time, so I'm going to give that a few seconds before I refresh this page. But what I'm going to see is the new navigation hierarchy show up in here in just a moment. While I'm kind of letting that happen, I do want to just go over really quickly some of the other site settings. So at the top here is general. This is where we have some settings like enabling sitemaps, so that search engines, SEO, and that you can do SEO with search engines, and we'll create those automatically for you. There's also a few other settings in here. Again, I won't cover these in deep, but we will provide deeper tech talks on these. Staff is where you'll manage your different AD groups. So if you recall, when I created this channel, I used Commerce in a Day, so that's set for the administrator. I can also use other AD groups for the web producers, so they won't have full access, but they'll have some access. And then readers will have read access, but no write access. Channels, I've shown you that, but I also want to mention that you could have multiple HQ channels for a single website. A great example is a customer, Cheetah Design, who has 2 different markets. They have Australia as well as New Zealand. So they have 2 channels here with the same website driving it. But if a customer comes from New Zealand or Australia, they'll load the appropriate backend channel, which will give the proper pricing and the proper set of products. And they could be completely different. So that's why you might have multiple channels here. Also, you can have multiple languages for a single app or for a single site. So to add other languages, if you click over here, you'll see different locales. And this is where I can pick the other languages that were configured. So if you recall, I configured FRCA and I could add that here. Also, I haven't covered this and I won't have too much time, but and we have a talk coming up as well on B2C configuration. So B2C is used for signing in. So you can sign in with different open credentials, and we'll provide more information on that. But once you configure the B2C tenant, you can add that to your channel right here. Okay, next are a list of features that you can turn on and off. There's something called publish groups, which will allow you to publish a set of changes all together. Perhaps you have a few different folks in your organization and you're doing multiple changes for different sales. You could have them completely grouped together, and then when you're ready to publish them, you can hit one button. Accessibility check gives you the ability within pages to run accessibility tests on your page to make sure they're accessible. We have the ability to run experimentation. You can do A/B testing and a few other things in here. I won't be covering all of them. Design is a way, if you don't want to do some extensibility but want to make a bit of CSS, deeper CSS changes to your site, you can overload the CSS in here. Again, I won't be covering that, but that is covered in my extensibility talk that was previously given. And then finally, extensions is a whole bunch of other properties that are specific to a lot of the modules. This is where you could pick your different theme for the site. And if I just collapse this, I'll show you one area as well. Inventory management. This is where you'll see out of stock threshold, for example. So if there's less than 3 items in stock, we'll show it as out of stock. So you can configure a whole bunch of settings here. There's a few other things, routes and content security policy, to be able to protect your website against malicious attacks and things like that. So that's an overview of all the site settings. So now back to the other items in here. So I've covered pages a little bit. Now, when you create a new page, a page needs to be based off of a template. We have another talk that really goes into the detail of creating templates and layouts. So I'm not going to be showing that, but I do want to show you, if I click on templates here, you'll see a list of those templates. And then I think layouts will probably, we've got one in here, but a layout is a layer on top of a template. So you can create multiple layouts on a template. And so you can see here we have, a layout for a category page, a general layout for general pages, one for the product detail page that we use as part of our demo data. The last three that I haven't covered yet, URLs. When you create each page, they also get a URL associated with them, so you can change those. So here you see a sign up one, for example, and you can manage those here. And a media library is where you upload all of your media, and I'll show you that in action in a few moments. And you can see I've already uploaded an AdventureWorks logo here and a hero. And then the last one is fragments. I'm gonna get to that momentarily as well. So let's have a look at our page. I'm going to refresh it. Now, if you recall, I changed the channel to our AdventureWorks channel, and lo and behold, as I refresh, there we go. I now have a new channel navigation hierarchy up here. Now, if you recall, I didn't add products to some of these categories. So skiing, for example, is empty. Oh, it looks like this one I forgot to name properly, but that was the exercise one. And backpacking packs is right here. Now this one I did add backpacks to. So here you can see those 3 backpacks. Now I want to show you how you upload product images. So let me go ahead and I'll select one of these, and I'll show you that the product image isn't showing up here, and neither is it going to show up on my PDP page. So let's go ahead and add product images for that. So I'm going to go to the media library here, and I'm going to say upload media items, and I'm going to select, I already have them. Now I've just done a quick job. I've just put different background colors. Now there's a naming convention you want to follow. We have this all documented, but you start out with the product ID and use these special characters. And this is for supporting all of the different variations if you need different images. So let's say you have a shoe that is available in different sizes, different styles, and different colors. You can have different images for every single combination if you wanted. But in my case, I just have a backpack with 3 sizes. So you'll see small, medium, and large. That's where you see that text in there. And I have 2 products. So this one here is going to be the default one where you see 75002. It's probably a little bit hard to read here, underscore 000 underscore 001. And you can have multiple images. So you'd have 002, 003, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this group of images here to upload. And I need to select a category. These are product images, so it's very important that I let the system know that these are meant to be product images, and that I'm going to publish them after I upload them. Okay, so that upload is going to be in progress now, and let's see, it says successful. So let's go and see if it was. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to hit Control F5. We'll see if those, there we go. Now, it doesn't look great because I'm using the same image for all these products, but it did show up, and I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these backpacks. So here we go. Now, if you recall, I added a different image with a different background color for each size. So if I pick small, I should see the variant come up, and you can have multiple for each variant as well. Small, medium, and large. Now, yeah, there we go. Okay, large. Okay, I'm going to go back to small here, and I'm going to show a quick transaction before we go and finalize changing some of our look and feel. But notice the category page, the category page as well as the product details page, there's not much rebranding I need to do. Mostly it's going to be my header. I'm going to get rid of Fabricam. I'm going to get rid of Fabricam up here to make it AdventureWorks. And then finally, I'm going to change some styling as well. So I just want to show you a quick transaction before I do that to show you everything working. So I'm going to go ahead and select San Francisco. And if you recall, we added a stock to San Francisco, as well as, let me add another thing. I say continue shopping. I'll go add a medium to my bag. So I'm saying pick one up in the store, but I'm going to have the other one delivered. And I'm going to go ahead and say view bag and checkout. But remember, I had the fulfillment group. That's why San Francisco and other stores showed up there. Now here's my shopping bag. I have 2 items. This is picking it up in the store. I can switch that if I wanted or change the store. But I'm going to go ahead and do a guest checkout. And I'm going to go ahead and add my name and address. Now, remember, we picked the different options for shipping, standard and standard overnight. And remember, we configured add-ins, and the different credit cards that are supported. So this is where I'm going to add in. This is just an add-in test credit card I'm going to plug in to let me do this transaction. And all that just from configuring the add-in section within HQ, and then I will add my email finally and place my order. Now what I'll see here, if everything succeeds, is an order confirmation. I could also have signed in and then I could see my order history and whatnot, but that's really the end-to-end flow. Now what I could do is show you in the back end how the order will show up, and if I was to use the point of sale system, you could see the order show up for picking up, and I could demo that. I just don't have time today to show that, but we do show that in some of our other overview talks as well. All right, so back to Site Builder now, and I want to show you how to start rebranding our page. So if you recall, I was on the home page and I talked about wanting to rebrand the header. So if we look at the header, now the header is stored in this header slot, but if I select it here, you might notice there's no properties over here. Well, this header, we only want to create once and then you reuse it on multiple pages. To do that, we have a feature called fragments. In fact, you could take anything on a page and you can create a fragment out of it and then reuse it on multiple pages. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit fragment here, and it's going to take me to this specific fragment. Now I'm going to show you how you get there if you weren't going through the home page. All you do is select the fragments section in the menu over here, and then here's my header container. So right now we have a fragment for the header, I have one for the footer, and in here you'll notice it's very similar to the page in that I have several different modules. I have a cookie compliance, that's this one up here, and I can configure it on the right. I'm going to select edit. And I have a promo banner, that's this module right here. It's a summer collection, and you can modify properties there. And then my header itself, I have a navigation menu. Now it pulls this navigation right from HQ, but there's an additional content that I can add right here. So you can see down here on the right hand side, in fact right here, there's a setting for pulling both from retail server and manual edition. So I'm going to take this manual one that was added, Explore Fabricam, and change that to Explore AdventureWorks and select OK. And now I want to change this logo right here, and I'm going to select that logo I previously uploaded and say OK. And I'm going to say finish editing. I could add a comment if I want, and then I could preview it if I want, but I'm just going to go ahead and publish it. It's looking like I want it. I'm going to publish it, and now I'm done with that. I'm going to go back to my home page here, and we should see, yes, so we see the new logo and we see Explore AdventureWorks. Now I want to change my home page to look a little more sporty as well, so that's going to be our next step here. So I'm over on my home page still over here. So let's quickly go into the content block here, and I'm just going to pick these three content block and just change the image on them. So I'm just going to delete this image, and I'll select that first AdventureWorks Hero 1 here. Okay, and then I'm going to select the next one, and I'm going to select a new image here. Now the next one I haven't uploaded yet, so I'm going to select Upload New Media Item, and I'm going to select a new one right here, AW Hero 2. And since I'm doing one, it's asking me for a title. When you bulk upload them, it'll automatically fill these out. Now this time I don't want to pick product category. I want to just leave it as none. And I'll upload that. And now I will select that new image. And then finally is the last one. I will select my third hero image here, and that one I need to upload as well. And that's going to be Hero 1, Hero 2. Actually, I just have 2 heroes on this. That's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that block right here. So under this, I can delete it. I can also drag and drop. I can move things around over here. So now I'll just save this. And now, you know what I'll do? I'll also get rid of that video that shows up right below it. So that one looks just to make it look a little less fashion, a little more sporty. And just for lack of time, I'm not going to go ahead and update these last 3 images, but I could do that next. I'm going to hit save and finish editing. And then finally, I'll hit publish. Oh yeah, remember I uploaded an image. Well, that image is still in a non-published state. I'm going to select publish all. And there we go. So now this is published. I think I got that. Yep. And I should be able to go here now and refresh my live site. And there we go. I've got my two different images. I didn't update the text, but you sort of get the idea. So as a quick review now, let's kind of review what we've covered here. So we started out with the HQ tool, well, with LCS. We showed you how to get access to the couple of different tools. We have then created our online channel in HQ and configured it and the nav hierarchy and whatnot. And then we went over to Site Builder. We created a new site, and then we did a little bit of configuration to change the channel to point to the new HQ channel. And then we started playing around with some of the pages with the marketing content and the header. There's many more things I can do here. And again, we'll have some deeper talks on this. Now, the very last thing I want to show here is now that I'm here, I might want to start changing some of the branding, the colors and whatnot to be a little more in line with AdventureWorks. I can do that under this design tab here. So we have something that we call presets. So we have a Fabricam theme, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit view here. Now notice here there's a global section and a bunch of different colors. This is where I can start making changes. Now this is the built-in one. We can't make changes to this one directly, but instead I'm going to save it as a custom one, and you can create multiple ones, AdventureWorks, and I'll just hit save. And now I can start doing some customization here. So why don't I grab like a purple accent color, and not only can I do global items here, but I can also go to the module level. Each module exposes the CSS properties that can be configured. So back on the home page, notice this gray bar up top in the banner. I'm going to go to that one here, promo banner, and let's go ahead and change that one. We'll make that something a little reddish. Okay, once you're done, I can hit finish editing, and I can now say set as active. That'll make it active. So if I go back to the design tab here, I can see that this AdventureWorks is now active, and I can say view, but I can also preview it at any time. Now when I hit preview, it's going to say, hey, which page would you like to preview it with? So I'm going to pick my AdventureWorks homepage. Whoops. I'm going to pick that one. I need to hit apply on that. And then also I need to pick the actual locale. And so that's going to load up in a preview state. And there you go. You can see my purple color and my background color for this. So there's a lot of customization. And then we have an extensibility kit. If you really need to customize complete look and feel to make it different or add your own modules or third-party configurations, you can easily do that. So that really covers everything that I wanted to cover today. I'm going to quickly go back to my deck here, and I have one additional slide. So we have a couple upcoming talks. One on, as I mentioned, the B2C tenant for e-commerce. We also have one coming on commerce deployments, updates, and servicing. That'll give you more details on how you get our regular updates and keep it updated. And we've had a few past talks already. Commerce overview, great talk. It really drives a lot of the storytelling really deeply throughout this. So a lot of the stuff, it'll go into more detail around the e-commerce site and the omni-channel nature of our architecture. And then we have a deep dive into our commerce architecture. Then we also have another one which deep dives into the e-commerce architecture. So those are great. That one is listed as TBD. It was just done last week. It's not posted yet. But just take a look at the Tech Talk website, and you should find those available really soon. We also have a lot of online articles, documentation on various things. So everything I went through today is documented. There's a setup an online channel, which goes through all the HQ stuff I went through today, and online channel extensibility. And then finally, we have, if you want to interact with us, if you're trying this on your own and you need more information or run into any issues, we have a Yammer group you can join. You can see the URL for that, as well as a commerce forum. So I appreciate you guys spending your time with me today, and I'm going to pass it back now to Evan. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. We would like to get your feedback on today's session. I've posted a link to a short survey, and there is a slight typo in that, but it does give you direct you to the right page. And we value your feedback, welcome your input on how we did today and what you would like to see in future sessions. So that survey scores on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score possible, and we thank you for your participation in that. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenter, Sam, and a thank you to our audience for logging in and joining us today. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are. Goodbye.